house more. He was like, I'm so gonna score. I'm so gonna score. And he didn't score. Oh my gosh, this is done. You know what that means? You know what that means? I'll tell you what that means. That means I can say here, rename it. Let's go. Let's play something real fast. Don't worry, the new orders coming in. What the flip? Okay, let's play some song. Oh, Russell Brand.
This is a very special, free, 1 hour conversation between me and Jordan Peterson, where we talk about the kind of things you'd imagine that me and Jordan Peterson would talk about. We talk about equality, we talk about socialism, we talk about God, religion, the Bible, consciousness itself, personal challenges and mythology. This is taken from my Luminary podcast, Under the Skin. This first hour we're giving you for free, obviously because we would like you to subscribe to Luminary, which you can do for as little as $2.99 a month. Also, there's a free trial. The conversation goes on for 2 hours. The second hour, it gets deep. There are tears, there's intensity, discussion around culture wars and gender. I really urge you, if you're into it, to go over and subscribe to Luminary at luminarypodcast.com. There's a week's free trial. It's good stuff. I also do a meditation podcast on there for no extra cost, and there's loads of content on there and loads of really, really good stuff. However, this hour, please just enjoy it for free. The link is obviously in the description, and you can have this podcast. I've got like 170 podcasts over there. I've spoken to people like Jonathan Haidt, Adam Curtis, Candice Owens, Vandana Shiva, Edward Snowden, Glenn Greenwald. Loads of amazing, intense conversations. If you like my YouTube content, the stuff over on Luminary, I think it's worth the small fee because it gets deeper there. It's contemplative. I try to really understand some of these ideas that are discussed in the videos, and I appreciate your subscription. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But if you can afford it and you're into it, crack on and give it a try. I consider it as like doing a course. Certainly having the conversations is like a course. And there's a new podcast every Saturday, and as I say, a new meditation every Wednesday. That's not to mention the other providers that are available on Luminary. I think you'll enjoy it. Also, why don't you judge yourself by watching this free 1 hour conversation with Jordan Peterson, and if you enjoy it, go over and subscribe and try the free 1 week trial. Thanks.
All right. Apologies for the delay.
It's no trouble at all.
Trying to make sure that I'm completely here for this. As much completely here as I can be.
You look completely there. You look very handsome. You look different from when I saw you just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, well, the day we talked was a very good day for me.
Really?
This is better, and I've had last 2 weeks have been markedly better. And so I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. And severe sleep apnea, and so now I have a machine, and now I'm actually getting some sleep for the first time in who knows how long, 10 years.
Yeah, you look good. You look good. Are you alright to start? You alright for that to be used? Would you like this to be a clearing?
We can go according to your requirements. I'm ready.
Thanks, Jordan. It's so lovely to see you. Thanks for doing this.
I'm looking forward to the conversation a lot.
Well, you look like you're reawakening. I'm really interested in the sort of, I wonder if you have, given your studies of archetypes and archetypal narratives, how you feel about, of course, we've talked somewhat about your suffering, and I get the sense from speaking to both to you and Michaela that it's not something you want to sort of rehash and rehearse especially, and I certainly understand to as much as anyone can the kind of medical problems that you went through. How do you relate to this re-emergence into the public sphere? How do you feel about it after what was a peculiar, unique, and it's a very specific emergence into public consciousness the first time, and then what seems to have been a series of real trials. How do you feel now, and how do you fit that into your understanding of psychology and indeed into your writing?
Well, I feel uncertain, grateful, afraid, and excited, sometimes all simultaneously, and I cycle through those. I mean, I was dancing with my wife a couple of days ago, and she said to me, I can't believe I'm alive. And I said, I can't believe I'm alive either. I can't believe we're both here. And it was because we hadn't danced together, I suppose, probably for 2 years. So it was a big deal. And we're both shell-shocked by what's happened and by the fact that maybe she's doing very well. She looks healthy. It's been 2 years now for her. And things seem to be turning around for me. I mean, I didn't think I was going to live.
Yeah, really.
Oh, it was, and I don't mean once or twice. I meant for a whole year. It seemed impossible to me that I could survive. I was too sick to go on as far as I could tell, but I didn't die, which was a shock on a daily basis. And now, well, things are much better, have been getting much better over the last 4 months, you know, and then associated with that, I was very ill and immobilized because of that, and in a tremendous amount of pain and anxiety, and then I also wasn't engaged in any activity. I mean, I did edit my book during all of this. That's the one thing I more or less hung on to, but I didn't have an occupation, and it wasn't obvious to me that I would ever have one again. I didn't know what would happen to my public reputation, say, if it was salvageable. I didn't know if I would ever be able to do any of the things that I had become accustomed to doing, because they were all complicated things. Like my clinical practice was very complex. Being a professor is complex. Doing podcasts and interviews is very complex. Lectures is all difficult, and if you're not healthy and at the top of your form, you probably shouldn't be doing it at all in some sense. And so it wasn't obvious to me how I could start that up again, or if I could, or how people would respond, or if I had any right to do it. And so I've been, tentatively putting a foot forward, mostly with YouTube interviews and podcasts. And so far that seems to be working. And I started writing yesterday. I wrote for the first time in a year. I wrote 2 pages of original material, and that's a huge deal. And so today, when I was showering and trying to get myself upright, instead of being racked with pain, my mind would wander to what I was writing, and that was a real relief to be engaged in that creative enterprise again. And so it's all of that, and I'm shocked, and I still really don't know what is going to happen next. So we'll see.
When we spoke on your daughter's podcast, on Michaela's podcast, which is on YouTube, you talked about gratitude, and now you're, I was interested to hear you describe your state as somewhat uncertain and fearful, in particular because I feel that many of the people that have criticised you, and many of the people that adore you, are attracted to at least this perception of sort of strident certainty, ethical and moral certainty, intellectual rigour. Is there anything that you would alter about the kind of your position as a public figure prior to these series of crises? Do you see it as a sort of a necessary and sort of the kind of evolutions that narrative produces all the time, or would you say there's anything that you would now withdraw or reframe?
Well, I would say that whatever transformations might be occurring with me, I would say have occurred in the realm of ideas. The new book that I've written, Beyond Order, is more communitarian. It's more liberal than the first book, technically speaking. It's also because it concentrates on the dangers of order rather than the dangers of chaos. And so that's a nice balance to the first book, and that was part of the plan, the vision from the beginning. People who are concerned with an excess of chaos tend to be more conservative, and people who are concerned with an excess of order tend to be more liberal, all things considered. And I started with a book about chaos and concluded at least this 2-book series with a book on the dangers of order. But it's also, the second book is also more communitarian in nature. So I've stressed, for example, the importance of community and relationship in the maintenance of sanity. Like, we outsource the problem of maintaining our own sanity to the people around us, and then all we have to do is pay attention to their cues. But and some of that's derived from what's happened to me. I mean, what I've observed over the last 2 years has been an unbelievable outpouring of support for my wife and my family and me, with punctuated exceptions, obviously, but broadly speaking, my family has come through. My family and my wife's family have been so supportive of us. It exceeds any expectations I would have had to begin with. People went out of their way so much to come live with us for weeks at a time and take care of either her or me or both of us. And that was family and friends. And so I have a friend right now who walks with me every day. It's a friend from college, and I have a really close friendship with him that's really been cemented hard again over the last 6 months. But he came to visit me in Russia. I had lots of people who went way out of their way, and it was life-saving for both of us. And then I got a tremendous amount of support from my viewers and listeners and readers, and they sent, when Tammy was in the hospital, they sent